Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Sisters of Wellness. Sisters of Wellness, a program where we talk about issues and give life to some topics that have been not talked about very much. And tonight is one of those cases. This is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, um, from children to grown women in this country. Rape is the most underreported crime in this country. Rape is the most underreported crime in this country. And there's an event that's coming up on the 22nd of April this month on Eventbrite. Two of the women who are instrumental in bringing this event to life are my guests tonight on Sisters of Wellness. Veronica, both of these ladies from Florida, and Marie from Florida. Both of them are accomplished authors and women who can speak to the challenges either firsthand or from the works that they have done. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us tonight on Sisters of Wellness.
Thank you,
Thank
Pamela,
you.
for having us.
Absolutely. Veronica, let me just start with you. You put this event together, LKTCG. What does that mean?
It stands for Let's Keep the Conversation Going. That's through our organization. That's our We Speak platform, where we speak, we listen, and we learn. We talk about relevant subjects that society and the community need to start having conversations about.
So let's keep the conversation going. Um, Marie, you wrote a book about your experience. You're a registered nurse and have done work with rape prevention and rape kits and those sorts of things. Let's keep the conversation. Well, first of all, congratulations on being a best-selling author,
Thank you.
and then thank you for writing about what you've gone through. What does it mean to let's keep the conversation going?
Well, Pamela, sexual assault and child abuse, those are subjects that are not cushy. You know, a lot of people like to shove it under the rug, pretend it didn't happen, keep it in the family, so to speak, or protect the perpetrators. Don't bring shame. So we need to talk about it. And I'm glad organizations like Veronica's and people like us are shining a light on it and educating the public. You know, we need to get educated, get enraged, and get engaged, as I read in one of those organizations that's their motto. But we need to stop being silent bystanders and being active participants. Together we can end this madness of rape and child abuse. You know, the statistics is staggering. According to RAIN.org, every 68 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted in the United States. And every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. Chew on that, right? Every 9 minutes, that victim is a child. And shockingly, 8 out of 10 victims is assaulted by somebody they know.
8.
8 out of 10 is assaulted, raped by somebody they know.
Right. And so when we hear about rape and it's always portrayed as somebody in a dark alley, somebody that breaks the window and come in. But
Yes.
8 out of 10 rapes in the United States of America is somebody that the person knows, which means that a good percentage of the people who are going to be watching this know about somebody who is being sexually assaulted or
Exactly.
have been sexually assaulted.
Exactly.
Can you all, in the work that you've done, and both of you have done extensive work, Veronica, an author also, how, what are we going to have to do as women?
Right.
Not only is it happening to us, but we're giving birth to these babies, these children that are being harmed.
What we're going to have to do is do what we're doing now. And we have to keep the conversation going, because this is a delicate conversation that nobody really wants to talk about, but everybody should be talking about it. From my own personal experience, being abused at the age of 5, and nobody wants to talk about it. And I'm 56 years old today, and we still don't want to talk about it. Whether we are, whatever faith we believe, we want to push this thing under the rug, and it's catastrophic. The things that I've had to endure because of child sexual abuse, It's far reaching, not just to the victim, but it breaks up families. It causes all kinds of self-esteem issues. It affects the economy. It's horrible. I made it through, and I promised God if he delivered me, I would use my life as a testimony to help anybody that I can help. We got to keep having these very difficult, hard conversations going. I had a family member ask me the other day, why are you still talking about this? It's been 30, 40, 50 years ago. I'm having this conversation because hopefully you won't have to have it. Our children are dying and making wrong decisions. It affected my marriage, my ability to trust God, my ability to grow, my ability to strive, my self-esteem, my self-worth. It has affected every area of my life. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm commissioned to do so. I didn't ask for this. This was handed to me. And I'll be darned if I can not going to do everything that I can do to help somebody else, because it's far reaching. It's far reaching, and we got to keep talking about it.
We have to.
Yeah, and it's such an uncomfortable conversation. I met a woman, we were working in a volunteer group, and I told her about the book that I've written, The Art of Forgiveness, where I talk about me being raped and having an abortion. And she started to share with me babysitting for her oldest sister and her sister's husband having sex with her every time she babysat, and trying to tell her sister, and her sister didn't want to hear about it. And this woman, now 55 years old, still crying, shedding tears, standing telling me that story, because her sister said, I'm going to stand with my husband.
Right.
Let her 16-year-old sister be raped by her husband, and she said, I'm going to stand with my husband. What is it that we can, what has happened to us as women?
But is it just our responsibility because it happened to us? I tell this story all the time. If my ex-husband had molested my daughter, which he did not, I would have believed her instantly, but I don't think I would have had the strength to leave. So I try not to judge people on the decisions they make, because you got to have the strength. I think it had to do with embarrassment, society, all of the above. If we continue to have this conversation and we're honest and we're open and we're vulnerable, and people that look like us, beautiful and fabulous, and we went through it, it's easy to talk about with someone else because we don't look like what we went through. But I have to say, to know better is to do better. I have family members that won't even speak to me today, not denying what happened. They still feel that I'm bringing shame on the family.
Yes.
I had a pastor who watched it happen, but they didn't want to get into anybody's business. Usually family members know that this is going on. We own a daycare center, and it's still hard to report, because you can report and then you become the guilty one. So it's very challenging. There is no fixed answer other than we have to keep having the conversation going. If you can prevent it from happening to your children, and they prevent it from happening to their children, then we can make an impact. I don't think we're going to ever stop this. I believe this has been going on since the beginning of time. But if I can stop it from happening in my kids, and they can stop it from happening to their kids, it's like a domino effect. We can make an impact, and not just stopping it, letting individuals know that when it happened, that there is still life at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
That you can still get through this. That's just as important.
Yes, there is healing. You don't have to remain victim of this unresolved trauma. You don't have, as I call it in my coaching program, you don't have to be shut in, silently hurting due to unresolved trauma, internalizing, living the shame, reliving, getting anxious and angry needlessly, because there is help, there is healing. You may not totally get rid of the hurt, but it will hurt less. You'll have the tools and resources to minimize the effect.
And we have to realize there are tools and resources out there. It's like what the Bible says, that my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And we stop there. But it says that we did not avail ourselves to the knowledge that are there. Because a lot of churches, when I grew up, the only thing they wanted us to do is to keep it in the family, keep it silent, and then come for prayer. After you've been prayed for, you still got to do the work. This is not easy, but it is possible.
Yeah.
You have to be open and honest and be willing to do. I'm also a life coach. Do the hard work.
Yes.
It's available and it's liberating. I mean, I never want to forget, but the pain that was once associated with is no longer there.
Right. And as you talk, Pamela, about the sister who stood with her husband, and I'm not saying she is, a lot of women stand with the men because they were victims too. You know, they don't know how to step away. They're victims too. And talking about prayer, a lot of the perpetrators are in the churches.
Oh, absolutely. My father was
a lot
minister.
of the perpetrators are in the churches. Yeah, and when the victim said, I'm not going to church because brother so-and-so raped me or did this to me, God, I love to remind them, God did not do that to you. The devil knows the way to church. And yes, the devil knows the way to church. He knows the scripture.
In the church and in the pulpit, right?
Yeah, so don't judge God by the actions of men, because God is not a man.
Yeah, let me, Dr. Janice Epperson, who is a superintendent of schools in Tennessee, she said, I appreciate this conversation. Keep the conversation going, but how do we get our people, Black families, to start the conversation? That is the million-dollar question.
You have to want to start the conversation. The same way we get Black folks to lose weight or to save money or to investment, you have to want to have this conversation. Unfortunately, we don't want to have this conversation until it happens in our household. So we got to want to have this conversation. We don't want to talk.
Sorry.
We can't make people, we have to do our part. Just like if you want help, if you want to be changed to help, you got to go through the process. We have to get, one of the things we can do, we can get the ministers talking about it and not trying to cover it up and not doing it themselves. It's just like there's a minister out of Atlanta, and I won't call his name. Everybody know he was molesting those boys. But what we did, we covered up, because it is a very difficult conversation to have. My uncle, who's a minister, and I love him dearly, he says to me, Veronica, I know that happened to you, but please don't put that book out there, because I don't want anybody to know my brother the way he was. But what I didn't say is this is a second generation thing. It's some people that I haven't even named. It wasn't one person. It's not usually that one person. It's a generational thing. I don't want that to happen to my grandchildren. So whatever it takes, if I have to be the spokesperson, I've lost so many relationships, but it's so much bigger than me.
Yes.
I have, just like you said, I had grown women that are 65 years old, still in pain. I don't want to live the rest of my life in pain. Yes, this thing happened to us, but it does not define who we are. Yes. We have to call a spade and be willing. My father is deceased, so I've forgiven him. I don't know what it would be like if he was alive, but death allowed me to forgive him, because I realized hating him is like taking poison and waiting for him to die. I had to resolve and say, listen, take responsibility of my own life. Yes, that happened to me and there was nothing I can do. But what I can do now is do the hard work of becoming the best person I can become. Keep having these conversations. You gotta want the change.
So your father molested you?
My father molested me and several others, but I never tell their story.
So why do you think your mother was silent?
You know, that's a very hard question. This is what I've resolved. I don't even think she can answer that. I know, and I can only say that I know what I would have done if I was in that situation, because you really don't know until you're in that situation. Exactly. At the time, there were a lot of kids, and we did run away once, and we went to a relative house, but you can feel that was too many kids in that home, and we were not wanted. So she did try to do something, but it's so much easier said than done. But the resources that like I said, I'm 56 today. The resources that we have today are so much better than what they had when my mother, who didn't work, and we've never had this conversation. We still can't have this conversation.
So your mother is still alive?
Yes, she is. And I love her dearly. I had to decide to love her where she's at. She cannot explain it to her. We don't even have this conversation. You guys probably know me more than she does, because we don't talk about it. It is a written rule that you just don't discuss it. Get over it.
Yes.
Why are you starting stuff? That's been 1,000 years ago.
Yes.
But
Yes.
in the meantime, you're dying.
Yeah.
You're dying. You got to get busy living or go ahead and lay down. And I refuse to lay down.
Yes, sister. I refuse to lay down. For many years, I hadn't spoken about my experience. And when I disclosed and wrote my book, one of the attacks I got was, oh, now you're a 60-year-old. Why are you coming out with it now? You know, victims don't choose when to come out. Some disclose right away, some die with the information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's when we are ready, then we talk about it. And not everyone will go public. You know, some may share in secret or with a therapist, but it's good to let it out.
Yeah. One young lady I interviewed whose father had molested her and her sister their whole life. Her sister refused to talk about it. After her father died, she wrote a book. And I said, well, what did your mother say when you told her that you were writing a book? And shared with her what your father did, her husband. And she said, my mother looked at me and said, you must have enjoyed it. You kept doing it.
Oh, dear
Well,
Jesus.
let me say this. I know it hurts my mom today. That's why I don't have that conversation with her, because there's nothing she can say. I don't blame her. You don't know what you're going to do because you don't even think like that. You know, I have a chapter in my book called Standing in Line number 99 in one of my books. It's because I stood in the prayer line for year after year, week after week, trying to get God's attention to help me. But you know what? I realized that he already had a plan. It's like you said,
Mm.
when we come out, there's
Can
a
you
time.
just pause right there for me? You said I was trying to get God's attention to help me. Oh, that.
Because
Right?
Mm.
he was
The-
a preacher, he was a God's man, right? And
Your daddy was a preacher.
yes, that's what they said he was. But he used to molest us on our way to church, in church, back from church. I had panic attacks anytime I got on the road. Like I told you, Marie, earlier today, that I'm afraid to fly because anytime we travel, I knew that we were going to be put on the side of the road and molested there
oh,
and back. So that's why I'm still working through this process. I'm still working through
Oh,
it. But let
gosh.
me just say this. I have no regrets of anything that I've gone through because I believe that everything is purposeful. I don't believe God caused any of that. We have a free will. This is like the Bible said, man is deceitfully wicked.
Mm.
God allowed us to do what we want to do, but he promised me that he would never leave me or forsake me, and he didn't. Now I am
amen.
the amazing, beautiful, fabulous woman that I am today because of what I've gone through. There are so many people that haven't made it. I don't look like, let me take my glasses off, what I went through.
You look good.
You're fabulous.
But it's we just have to keep the conversation going. I
Oh.
can't tell you how many people inbox me on a daily basis, say me too, but I'm afraid to tell.
Mm.
I'm not going to tell them to tell until they're ready, because when you do tell, you
Yeah.
know, because there have been times where I said, God, is it worth it? I cried day and night. Is it worth it? Was it worth it, me writing this book? But I see
Yes.
now that it's so much bigger than me.
Yes, it
I've
is.
mentioned it to my mom, and my mom did read the book for the first time probably about 6 months ago, and they hated me for it because they thought it said something different. It's more about my story. I vaguely mentioned the abuse, but I wanted you to understand how I got to where I'm at now. And all my mom could say, my poor daughter, that was enough for me. We don't want answers. They don't have answers.
Yeah.
I just want her to know my journey. And she knows it. And we never have to have the conversation. What would she say?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would she say? She
Marie.
had several kids, didn't work. He was the breadwinner. Where were you going to go? Because after
And,
taking 6 kids to somebody's house, they want you to leave. They're not wrong. It's just reality.
Mm.
and he was hiding behind the pulpit every week.
Yes.
He was, I believe hurt people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I even confronted him probably when I was around 38. And he said to me that I am lying, that it didn't hurt. And the thing about it, I talk about the abuse and I want to be graphic. It wasn't the sexual penetration. It was the vulgar slurs that traumatized me because I made myself disappear. And it was the filthiness and the vulgar slurs that he used. And it was just, he introduced me to pornography. Thank God I didn't get stuck on that. It was terrible. It was terrible, but it's my journey. I don't have any pain associated with it. That's why I can stand bold and say, listen, God will deliver you if you believe, but not just by the church. You got to go to counselors. You got to do the hard work, and you can't be ashamed of what was done to you. I was 5 years old.
Yes.
I didn't know what was going on. I just knew it was bad. And then I remember telling my mom, I wrote a letter one day, I think I was probably 10, and I said, Dad is doing something bad to me. And my mom said, you better not put that there because you're going to get in trouble, which I didn't have the words to articulate it because there wasn't like gangster rapping. I didn't even know how to explain what was happening, but intuitively, I knew there was something wrong. And it just, I mean, I had low self-esteem. I had a difficult time raising my daughter. Thank God I was honest with her because I didn't connect to her. When I delivered her, I didn't connect. I had no emotional maternal connection because I was still in survival mode. I didn't wear lingerie for, I can't tell you how many years. When I have certain smells, there's a trigger, but I have to remind myself, wait, you forgot you were delivered. These things come back. I have to remind myself how beautiful I am, how fabulous I am. I'm working on my PhD now, but it's taken me a lifetime to get there because I grew up thinking I wasn't dumb enough, because how in the world can somebody as damaged as myself get a higher education?
Wow.
So it is so many different areas that are affecting your life. It is unbelievable. And let's talk about the outreach, the casual, the siblings. We're all separated to a large degree because some of my siblings' relationship with my father was different from the relationship with me. He might have been a better father to them, and I can't take that away from them, which he was an absolute monster to me, and they can't take that away from me. But
Well, did he molest any of his other children?
Yes.
Did he, was it boys and the girls?
Just the girls, as far as I know.
Just the girls.
And I won't call their name because that's
No. I'm not requesting that.
But it's
at
not
all.
a surprise. Everybody knew it. So it's not like I'm saying something that's not known. I'm probably gonna get in trouble, but it's so much bigger than me. So yes.
Yes. A night perpetrator too. But nobody spoke out about it in public.
Well, look at on
like
television when the girls came forward, everybody was like, "Oh my God, he couldn't have did that because he was such a great actor."
Yes.
Well,
they're always a pillar of the community. Very nice. Everybody knows them.
Well,
Look up to them.
Yeah, and Dr. Janice Epperson, she says that I hear it so much and I have to report it myself to Children's Services. The young lady that I interviewed, whose father was molesting her and her sister, she said the challenge in her family was my daddy was a superintendent of schools,
right,
and my mother was a principal of the high school, and my mother was not willing to give up her lifestyle. Sacrificed her children for a lifestyle because there was an image to uphold. And that when I asked the question, what has happened to us as women, that we have been taught not to value ourselves and put ourselves on the block to be exchanged for whatever it is that there is a need of. Even if it is in the case where you said, my mother had a lot of children, and I understand there were, back in the day, there were women who did that a lot.
I don't think my mother knew it back then, and once she found out, she did make some decisions. But when you don't have money, you may be able to run to a family member's home, but eventually you can sense it's time for you guys to go. So you got to make peace where I remember my dad came in and apologized to her. He never said what he did, but he apologized to us. But then the next week he holds a gun up to my head and said, if I tell again, he's going to kill everybody in the family. So my whole, teen life and younger adult life, I felt guilty, a sense of guilt that it was my fault. These things are not going to change, but when we can reach these men and women early in life, we can let them know, number one, it's not your fault. Number one, you're not alone, because that's one of the things the devil tried to do, is separate us and let us know that it's only happening to us. I've ran into so many of my classmates that were bullies, that bullied me. They went through the same thing.
Well, Veronica, and Marie are a part of an event that's taking place on the 22nd of April. It is an online event. It is free, Eventbrite, and the initials LKTCG. Let's keep the conversation going. You can go there and register for this event. Find out more about the books that these outstanding, fabulous women have written and their courage to share their stories so that they can help other people. Marie, your journey to writing the book and then the work that you do in the medical community as far as rape kits are concerned, do you think the public would be uh, shocked? Do you, or are we just, have we suppressed the even desire to know what's
I
happening?
I think it's suppress, mostly turning the blind eye. And just one thing I want to clear up or add, perpetrators are not only male. We have female perpetrators, women raping girls and women and boys, just the same way we have men raping women, men and boys. So we have the female perpetrators, and that we need to talk about that too.
Well, yeah.
Siblings, perpetrators, yes.
And do you find in the work that you're doing that many of those women, well, probably the men and women, have had have been abused in their lives?
Yes. Yes.
One question,
Mhm.
what happens when you attend this event on the 22nd, keeping the conversation going? How often do you have this? Will you, I mean, what is it that people can hope to get from attending this event in April or later on this month on 22nd?
We do this once or twice a year, according to our, depending on our schedule. We are providing information and resources to a 1-800 number because it's so huge that we can't take this on by ourselves. So what we're going to give the individual, share some of our stories. I have a young lady that's coming on. She was trafficked. She's HIV positive, time 30 years, have gone through so much, and she's an amazing woman today. She's going to tell her story. There's another young lady who's a counselor. She's going to kind of give an idea of what's going on in the schools and so forth, and how it affects our eating and all the other eating and all these other different areas. And so we're going to provide like 1-800 numbers to a national 1-800 number for child abuse prevention awareness, because they have the resources. We're just a small fish in this pond. So if we all do our part, that's what they're going to get out. But to all your listeners, please, please, please go on Eventbrite, grab a ticket, because for every ticket that you grab, we get money donated to the organization.
Well, here's one, Miss Davis. I want you to call me in Messenger and let me know how to pronounce your first name because I always get it wrong and I don't want to get it wrong. But look at this. Thank you for sharing. I have a friend that recently released a documentary. He was molested by his sister and a female worship leader
Right.
at his church.
Yep. Female.
His sister.
Yes. Yeah. They're female perpetrators more than we hear about.
And Veronica, we have to talk again. You were in the military. The statistics say 35% of men in the military have been raped. 56% of women in the military have been raped. We need to do a whole show on those who've been scarred, who raise their right hand to protect this country, but they go in the military and the military does not protect them.
Let me just say this here. My husband served in the United States Air Force for 26 years. I was not in the military. I did receive an award, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award through our organization for our community service.
Okay. I thought I saw that you were in the military.
No, well, when you married to an Air Force, fine. I mean, young man, then you're part of that.
Did
But
did he ever talk about that? Did he ever?
no, no, but we know that these things, it's everywhere. It's not exclusive, it's everywhere. We have to gain our power back. And again, I don't think it's going to be stopped. But if we can make an impact, because there are so many people that have been abused, we want them as well to let them know that they can live a beautiful life. They don't have to walk around with the shame, and they can go to counseling, because there's so many counselors. Like your life coach, Marie, you can't coach everybody. I'm a
Right.
life coach. There are some people that can only hear me. There are some folks that can only hear you. We can provide the tools, but the responsibility lies within them. They ask me all the time, Veronica, where did you get your secret sauce from? My secret sauce is different from your secret sauce. You got to put the work in. It's almost like what the Bible says, the word work when you work it.
Yes. You have to put the work in. You have to want to be healed.
Well, and ladies, I really appreciate what you all are doing. Marie, I met Marie interviewing her about her book that she's written. What's the name of your book, Marie, and how can people find you?
Things That Keep Me Up at Night, available on Amazon and wherever books are sold online.
Marie says happy thoughts never keep you up at night. It's always the negative things that keep you up at night.
Yeah.
Her book is on Amazon, and she is available to keynote at events, virtual or in person.
Yes.
As well, Veronica, what's the title of your book and how do people find you?
It's called It's a Process. And I also have a dream journal, because I think writing and journaling is so important as it relates to healing. Because when you journal, you're able to write down your thoughts and your feelings. You can be honest with yourself. You don't have to own up to it. You don't have to agree to it. You just get it out of your system.
Yes.
And my book is called It's a Process, because change is different for everybody.
And
So
the book
An amazing book.
thank you. You can find that on Amazon. You can buy it through my website. Wherever you can buy books, you can buy my book.
And my book is The Art of Forgiveness. And I talk about how do we release this? What is it? You don't forget, but how do you forgive and accept? To be able to release the need to ask why. And if you've not ordered a copy, please do so. I am autographing them right now. They just came in last week. This is my first book, ladies. And Miss Davis, your book should be arriving soon. I think I either put it in the mail Saturday or today, one of the two. But I thank you, ladies.
Thank
And
you.
I'm starting a reading circle, a reading club once a month, every second Tuesday.
Oh.
So when we get through The Art of Forgiveness, my goal is to be able to invite other writers and speakers who are speaking to this very critical work of healing the soul, because this kind of trauma is what the enemy wants to do, so that we can commit emotional suicide
Yes.
with the darkness of the things that have happened to us. And I know it is your goal, as well as everyone else's, to set people free.
Absolutely.
Set them free.
It is possible.
Keep the conversation going. An event that's taking place on the 22nd of April on Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite and register. You can register and look at the letters. Let's keep the conversation going. Here's the information at the bottom of the screen. LKTCG. Free event. And the goal is to provide you with the tools that you need, provide you with the tools to help bring the conversation to the. Imagine if every household had the most wanted list posted on the refrigerator.
Right.
Stay away from this relative right here.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it probably makes people cringe to think about that,
Right.
but we're talking about preserving souls.
Yes.
Yes. The sad thing is, when you see what in most families, when the children, little Johnny and Susan's running away from Uncle Tom or Auntie Mary, they're like, oh, go hug Auntie Mary or go sit on Uncle Tom's lap. That's when you should start asking questions.
Yes.
Why are they running away?
Absolutely. And
Wow.
pay attention to your children. Watch their body language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those nonverbal speak volumes. If Susie is afraid of Uncle Johnny, there's a reason. So
There
you
is a
have to
reason.
just keep an eye on him.
Yeah. It's no longer stranger danger.
It's
The
exactly.
danger is within the home,
within
within
the
the
home.
family.
And let me tell you, we must keep talking about this because, according to the professionals in this business that you guys are in, the numbers rose exponentially during COVID.
COVID, yes.
Absolutely, because they didn't have an escape at school.
They didn't
That
have
was
any.
my
Oh,
safe haven going to school, and I would get debilitating anxiety when that bell rung
to
because
go
I
home.
knew I had to go home.
Mm. Oh,
And your home should be your happy place. And it
Absolutely.
wasn't.
Keisha Sumner says, "Congratulations, lady." Keisha, thank you
Thank
for
you,
the work that you're
Keisha.
doing in the community and to help bring healing to those in the community that you serve. Ladies, I thank you so much and look forward to doing something with you all in the future. Let's get together and do this again because we must keep the conversation going.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and we look forward
Absolutely.
to future
Absolutely.
events. Yes.
I've already registered.
Oh, good.
Outstanding.
So I look forward to being there on the 22nd. And I hope those of you who are watching will join me on the 22nd to be a part of this conversation with Marie and Veronica in this event to help share resources and to help destigmatize the things that you had absolutely nothing to do with, but you do have an opportunity to move forward on this journey and move forward with the confidence that you are forgiven and don't have to carry the weight and the shame and the anger and the resentment that uh, paralyzes you and your ability to move forward with peace and healing. These emotions create dis-ease in our bodies.
Yes.
There's so many people who are suffering from disease
Yes.
because of these emotions that are associated with trauma. So, this is about healing the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. I hope you will be there on the 22nd on Eventbrite. Go there and register. Let's keep the conversation going. Again, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Pamela. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you for joining us for this edition of Sisters of Wellness. If you would, please like and share, help spread the word, help keep the conversation going. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. A fantastic moment, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Ladies,